Last week in the Herr Sprint Series, we went racing at Oregon Speedway, and boy, what a race that was. Multi-groove action all race long, and Matthew Hall got win number 3 on the season, and who knows, maybe Matthew Hall can be a championship contender. But after tonight, we will be officially halfway through the 2025 Herr Sprint Series season. And this is the Dash4Cash finale. 4 drivers battle for one spot, and the winner will get the prize here tonight. It is race 16 of the season in the Massachusetts 250 at Hillside. Hello everyone, it is Nathan St. here, and welcome to Hillside. And this is going to be a fun one for 63 laps on tap for the Herr Sprint Series, and this is the halfway point and the Dash4Cash finale, and we'll see what ends up happening here tonight. Another fictional racetrack, another racetrack that I've never done before on NR, and it's going to be a fun one, 63 laps, and we'll see if we can go caution-free for the third straight Dash4Cash race in a row. And we got Matthew Huber up here in the booth for this one, and welcome to Hillside for race 16 on the season.
This is going to be a fun one here. It has tight bakings for a short track, which if any of you saw the old Chick-fil-A Cup Series races, you probably understand why AG made this the All-Star race this season. Expect a lot of 2x2, even 3-wide racing here, and assuming the pack doesn't get strung out towards the end of the race, we're gonna have a close finish at the end.
Oh yeah, 100%. We're gonna see multi-lane racing here, and quite possibly we could see another Shane late scenario and have a late race pass for the win. We just have to wait and see. This track is basically a Dover, but a lot more banking than Dover, and it's not concrete, it is pavement. But we'll see what ends up happening with the Dash4Cash. But we also have to think about the championship. We are halfway through after tonight. Alexander has been a dominant driver, but he's still deep in the field here tonight. BP Ruiz still towards the front inside the top 10. Hallie Anderson Jr. still decently, same with Enable, but third in points Matt Black is not in the field here tonight. In a shocking ton of events. So how do you think that's going to shake out here with Roll in the back and a lot of the other contenders up towards the front half of the field?
For the likes of Rowe, Abel, and so on, I just have to say this. Good luck trying to keep yourself clean here, and hope that they don't get involved in a wreck. We saw one, I believe, last year towards the middle of the race, and that pretty much just shook up who eventually won that race, which was Corey Case taking the $10 prize.
Absolutely, it's going to be a fun night of action. Dash4Cash halfway through the season, and the point standings are as follows. Alexander Roll has a 29-point lead over PP Ruiz in second. Matt Blatt not in the field, 34 points behind. Hallie Anderson Jr. in fourth, minus 48. Aaron Abel in fifth, minus 54. Jay Wilberton in sixth, minus 55. Same with Trace McClure, also minus 55. Andrew Williams is in 8th, minus 58, and then we have a 3-way tie for 9th between Matthew Hall, Sammy Kamara, and Carson Miller, all 83 points behind. But it's been all Alexander Roll, and we'll see on who ends up getting the Dash4Cash win between Aaron Abel, Alexander Roll, Sammy Kamara, and Alexis Selspin. But on the pole here tonight, it is the 05 of Zane Davison and the 87 alongside him of Trey Smith, Carson Miller, and Andrew Williams in mode number 2, Chase McClure in the 97 of Alexis Selspin, one of the Dash4Cash drivers, Sammy Kamara, and BP Ruiz in mode number 4, mode 5 of Samet Oskin and Hallie Anderson Jr. And then we have the number 13 of Dylan Stanley and the 88 of Campbell Mosh. The number 9 of Matthew Hall, 3 wins on the season, trying to tie Alexander with the most wins on the year. And alongside Mr. Enable. Corey Case in the 99, and the number 1 of J.O. Wilton, the 02 of Nathan Adjaboye, and the 81 of Howie Anderson Jr. And then the 56 machine here tonight is Alexander still deep in the field. The number 3 of Joshua Neely, and then returning here after a while is Warren Smith in the 69, and the 3 draws made the first start on the season here tonight. Dale Matthews in the number 39, the number 52 of Ollie Hitson, and then the number 98 of Kyle Bruce. And it's going to be a wild race here tonight. I'm going to put you on the spot. Who do you think will win the Dash4Cash, and who do you think will win the Massachusetts 250?
Well, the 2 predictions I have here today are Sam Oskin winning the second race in free for Ludovic's team, and Alexander Rowe starting from 19th to win the Dash4Cash.
That would be a massive statement for Alexander Rowe. If anyone can, it is our point leader, but starting deep in the field all the way in 19th. We'll see what ends up happening. It's been a crazy season so far here in the Herr Sprint Series, and we are going to see if who will win at the halfway mark and who will win the Dash4Cash. Zayton Davidson and Trey Smith will lead us to the green, and we are racing for the Massachusetts 250 at Hillside. Lap number 1 will be led by Zane Davidson, and it might be 63 laps here tonight, but this track you absolutely fly, and it's about 20 seconds per lap, so it's going to be very quick. And here comes Trey Smith. He's had a very rocky season, but maybe a good starting position is all he needs, as he's going to try and take the race lead away from Zane Davidson. And here comes Chase McClure in the number 50 machine as well. Sam McMahon going for the Dash4Cash on the inside lane, and here comes Carson Middleman at 3 wide inside the top 5.
Wow, this is already 3 wide, and we're not even 5 laps in here. And here comes Sammy Camara. Almost looked like he was going to get past Chase McClure for the second position, but gets moved out of line. And a bit of a surprise up front, Trey Smith in the 87, who is one of the lower drivers in the point stands, who have completed 90% of the races out front. What a statement that would be if he can manage to pull it off here at Hillside.
That would be a massive statement from Trey Smith. Like I said, he's competed in most of his races this season, but he's had a lot of bad ones, and it's not really bad luck, he's just not having the pace. And one thing I was not really expecting, it looks like the outside lane is actually challenging here tonight, so we might actually have multiple groups here tonight for racing. But here comes Chase McClure with a diamond move off turn number 2, and he's going to go side by side with Trey Smith for the race lead. Carson Miller, he's had a very quiet season, had some good ones, but not fantastic ones, but this would be fantastic for him if he can get the job done here tonight. And that 82, the 37 for Herr Motorsports has been better than the 82, and Carson Miller making a move that was close as Oz can about chop down on Dylan Stanley even, and fantastic racing early on here at Hillside.
Almost like a shuffle race going on here. We saw this usually at the Super Speedway races, but some of the guys we are starting to get back here in the top 5. There's Camara still up here, Nathan Adjaboye in the 50, and our pulsator Zane Davidson still inside the top 5 here. A relatively good run here for Triad Racing so far, as Nathan Adjaboye, I believe, that is in the 02 now, looking to get by for the 4th position on Corey Case.
Fantastic night so far for Travis's team. Last in the point standings, but he does have a win. Every team has a win this season. And a good night so far, as he's going to try and get back to the bottom And look at this move, Cosmo 3 right through the middle for the second place spot. Woo-hoo-hoo. And that's going to work out for him up to the second place spot for Cosmo. And we got a very racy racetrack. But right now, it is the 93 of Sammy Camara out front and leading the Dash4Cash. Here comes Aaron April though in the number 37. Top 5 in the point standings. And one of the drivers contending for the Dash4Cash. But look at this field. 3 wide, 2 and 3-1, now all double file, but multi-group racing here in the 69 of Warren Smith. Welcome back to the Herr Sprint Series. He's going to make it 3 wide. And for the race lead, Cosmo to the inside of Sammy Camara.
It's going to be a bit more difficult for him to get past and potentially hold on here from Sammy Camara, who, that's surprising. Hillside, it's surprising that they're outside lane is holding out as good as they are. Here comes Aaron Abel now in the third position. That's the first time we mentioned him all race long. But most of his competitors, Alexander Rowe and Alexis Selspin, are further back in the field. But they still have plenty of race to get their way back up the front.
Oh yeah, without doubt, Alexis Selspin in the Krispy Kreme 97. Just outside the top 10 on the inside lane, but Alexander Rowe nowhere to really be seen up to this point, and he is actually almost in last place in the number 56 at the moment. Not a good point tonight, and not a good night for the Dash4Cash competitors. But how about Carlos Miller, and how about Herr Motorsports second and third now? Miller trying to go for the race lead right now, and Abel has the Dash4Cash spot, and he's going to help his teammate of Carlos Miller to take the race lead on that number 16. But is he going to stay behind him? Miller to the lead, Abel to second, and 1-2 for Herr Motorsports.
Now, considering what happened in the opener round at New Smyrna, I'm wondering what Carson Miller would be thinking here, trying to hold off from, of all people, his own teammate Aaron Abel, who has been performing, as I might say. He has been performing a bit better than this A2 team, as Zane Davidson's still holding on to the top 5 here in the 05. And if he plays his cards right, he might as well get by both of the cars and get back up front in the lead.
Definitely could be a good night for Zane Davidson for Twilight Racing. And right now it's a good night for Hillside Motorsports, and this is a longer race lap-wise, but we're already almost to lap 20 here in the Massachusetts 250. And we'll see what ends up happening here. As look out for track house. That was a little bit of a moment. Cody Case went and slowed down a little bit. Look at that move from Toy Smith from top of the bottom. Fantastic racing for a track I've never seen before. Well, a track that I've never done before of course I've seen it before because of HG the channel, but what a race this has been. And now Toy Smith back up to the inside lane, able trying to pull away not only for the Dash4Cash, but trying to get his first win on the season here tonight. And here comes Kyle Bruce in the number 98 when the 3 drivers made the first start on the season. The 13 is Dylan Steele even. The 3 is Joshua Neely. And how about the development driver to Garrett Sandowska, Ollie Hitson, making a move on the inside lane as well.
Yeah, and I'm wanting to see if the outside lane is starting to lose its advantage here with how the tire wear is situated. And this is an impressive run here from Trey Smith in the 87. I hope nothing bad happens to him like it did at Las Vegas. Just as I say that, he's looking, but no room here. Here comes Camara trying to get by not only Trey Smith, but also Aaron Abel and potentially win the Dash4Cash.
Potentially going up towards the front. How about Jay Wilkerson in the number 1 machine inside the top 5? And it's not what I was expecting, but fantastic racing here on this 1 mile track here. Some 2 and 3 wide racing as Abel is still pulling away. It's almost like they had to diamond the corners here to really gain the maximum speed. as Kyle Blue's trying to get to the inside of J.R. Wilton. And here comes Trey Smith once again. This might be his best race all season long up to this point. Side by side once again for the race lead. But able with a good one up top. I thought it was Stein like you said, but it looks like that's not the case. Camille with a good one. He's gonna dive bomb it into turn 1 and 2. Side by side for second.
Now this is going to make things really interesting to see how long Aaron Abel can hold the lead for. But that depends on if Camara can try and get by Trey Smith, get clear of him, or if potentially J.R. Ribbleton potentially moves Camara up to a free wide move potentially. But Alexis Selspin's now in the top 5. So 3 of the 4 guys competing for the Dash4Cash are currently inside the top 5, but not Alexander Roan, the 56.
Exactly, 3 out of the 4 drivers competing for Dash4Cash are up towards the front, and we could see a scenario where the winner of the race might just win the Dash4Cash, but unfortunately, like you said, Alexander Roan, our point leader, is now dead last in 24th position, so it's not looking good for him to win the Dash4Cash, and it's not looking good for him to have a massive point lead, as Trey Smith back to the inside of Able for the race lead. He's gonna try and make it work, but it looks like this inside lane is not as good as it once was, and it looks like it's almost going in cycles. As look at Jay Wilberton with a move on the inside of Sammy Camara, and now we might have all 3 drivers that are up front competing for the Dash4Cash side by side. Look at Alexis Selspin on the inside. Look out for Sammy Camara might make it 3 right here.
Oh boy, this is gonna be tight here. Camara wisely lifting off, potentially avoiding the crash between himself and Abel, and that would have been huge for Alexander Rowe there. But nonetheless, Selspin's now the one leading the pack, the 3 who are competing for Dash4Cash in the 97, but how long that would last. Aaron Abel using the outside lane now to his advantage, so the tires aren't falling off just yet. But as I say that, Trey Smith and J.R. Ribbleton now competing for the race lead.
Well, a power move from Alexis Selspin with a 1, 2, 3, and 4 going to take the Dash4Cash lead and maybe even go for the race lead. Car boost as well. DNS Racing cars are on fire in the middle point of this one out of nowhere. And here comes one Smith still deep in the field. He's in the midst. Here comes Smith Oskin in the 64. And now all of a sudden it looked like we might have had some cars break away, but that is not the case. Now Able is stuck on the outside lane and he's dropping back, and so is all 3 of the Dash4Cash drivers, the Selspin, Camara, and Able.
And they almost made it 4 wide there with Warren Smith and Samet Oskin. And considering what happened at this point of the race last year, that might not be the best situation there. Ribbleton still trying to get by Trey Smith, but with some help from first-time driver in the channel potentially, Kyle Bruce now looking for the race lead. Now that would be something for a potential first-time driver to win in his first career start at Hillside.
That would definitely be historic, and I'm sure Alice knows, but I can assume that probably his first start on the channel for Caboose, at least the first one this season in the Herr Sprint Series. Joshua Neely, Trey Smith, all on this inside lane. Warren Smith, it's been a while since he's been in this series, and he's up front with a shot. And this is almost like a super speedway, not with the cycle racing, but with the fact that we are seeing so many drivers up towards the front all night long. But unfortunately, still one of them that we haven't seen is Alexander Rowe, and he's still winning in the back part of the field. And we mentioned the 02 of Ultra Boy early on. He's in the back, and just some drivers are not able to get up to the front. But meanwhile, back up to the front is still very, very lazy. Trey Smith on the inside of Joshua Neely now, trying to get that spot. And now The 69 on the move of Warren Smith, Chase McClure, and side by side for the Dash for Cash with Salzman and Sammy Camara.
Man, at this point of the race, potentially the top 12, top 15 have a realistic shot of winning this race. But that's gonna be interesting to see the outside lane still working as well as it does, as we saw there with Joshua Neely now being the new race leader. Warren Smith, not sure if he's using up too much of his stuff. Aaron Abel and the 93 of Sammy Camara falling back out. They're still inside the top 10, but Alexis Selspin is still the highest guy in the Dash4Cash, in 5th, potentially going for 4th on Kyle Bruce.
And this is very interesting. The inside lane is still working, but the outside lane, the last few laps have been the lane to beat. And how about Joshua Neely on the number 3 out front now? And it looks like the outside lane is better than 3 and 4. And then it looks like the inside lane is better than 3 and 1 and 2 on the long one. Well, I guess vice versa. I'm getting fairly confused at this racetrack, but Joshua Neely out front here in this one. And Jerry Wilpleton, Mania 1 maybe for the race lead here, gonna dime the corner. And off turn 4, side by side once again for the race lead. And it's looking pretty good for that 97 of Alexis Selspin. Wilpleton to the race lead, gonna clear the number 3. Nearly gonna have a 1, maybe, but so does Trey Smith. How about a 52 of Ollie Hitson, making some noise up front. So with same with Dylan Matthews in number 39. And just fantastic racing all night long. But right now, Abel is trying to chase down that 97 of Alexis Selspin for the Dash4Cash side by side once again. With less than 15 laps to go, less than 20 to go here in the Massachusetts 250.
Now, with the way this track has been racing, it's almost like Auto Club in a way. I know I say that with several tracks here, but this is probably the closest thing to an Auto Club short track, basically. It's the two NS Racing teammates here looking to get by J.R. Rippleton for 2nd, but can't really do anything about that as Rippleton gets clear, and Ari Hickson, not sure if I said that correctly, but they're now going inside the top 5 potentially, trying to get by Trey Smith in the 87 before Aaron Abel gets by and passes them.
The 52, development driver to Gelsendoska, and great to see that 52 one up front, and great to see Samantha Oskin, the 69 of Warren Smith, John Matthews, B.B. Ruiz. This is going to be a big point night for him, running just outside the top 12. And of course, with Alexander running as deep as he is gaining a couple spots, but not much. Joshua Neely is still the race leader, and look at this move right through the middle from Trey Smith. And things are starting to ramp back up once again here. With 14 laps to go, and look at this move. Selspin 3 wide for 2nd place spot, and we could have a scenario where a Dash4Cash winner wins the race as well.
It's gonna take a lot for Alexis Selspin to get by the 3 of Joshua Neely now that Neely has almost 3/4 of a second lead over these guys. He'll need to rely on Kyle Bruce to try and give him the drafting position to get by the 87 and hope that he sticks behind him so he can get by the 3 of Joshua Neely before Sammy Camara potentially catches up to them.
It looks like the two NS racing cars are going to work together here. Sammy Camara is still in the midst of it. Oh my goodness, one move from Aaron Abel 3 wide through the middle. He knows that he still has a shot still for the Dash4Cash, and he needs to pick up the pace because there's only 11 laps to go now here in this one, and it might end up being a win, a double win for Selspin here tonight, all over the back bumper of the number 3 of Joshua Neely. And it's going to be very interesting what ends up happening. Camilla is not too far behind, and April is not too far behind. And unfortunately, the 56 of Alexander is still nowhere to be found up towards the front. But 3 draws for the Dash4Cash, all inside the top 7 with 10 laps to go here in this one. Abel needs to get past the 87 and the 93 to really chase down the 97 of Camara. But the good thing for Cellspin is he did have the 98 pushing him, but now they're going to go side to side, and honestly, it looks like the tires have fallen off here late, and it might be a very good position to be in for Joshua Neely.
That depends on how quickly Cellspin has saved up his tires towards the end of the race. It was 0.7 seconds a few laps ago. Now it's down to 0.35. Let's see how short the gap is gone down to. Oh, it's down to under a tenth. And he's looking. Cellspin's looking to the outside of Joshua Neely. Not quite. Not quite. Neely has the stronger run on the outside lane. That's the real strong spot here. The outside lane is potentially stronger than the inside lane.
Especially now the tires have really fallen off, and we can just tell it was a lot of 2 and 3 while racing, and now it is just basically it's run out here in this one. And now this might come down to April and Cellspin for the Dash4Cash, as the 93 has fallen back on the outside lane and looks to not have a long one car. Cellspin with a 1 on the outside, gonna keep the 3rd spot, but it's a 1-on-1 battle between April, one of the most consistent drivers this season. A top 10 masterclass from him, and now it would be his 5th top 5 and 10th top 10. But he wants the Dash4Cash victory. But Kyle Blution, in possibly his first solo on the channel, he wants a race win. 3 laps to go at Hillside.
It could be any one of these two who could potentially get by for the victory. Joshua Neely, if he does get pushed up to the outside lane, he might have a good run on 3 and 4 here. But if Kyle Bruce gets clear on turns 1 and 2, he might have a shot to get his first win in one of his first races. Where on earth did Trey Smith come from late in the going?
Trying to get 2 birds with 1 stone here on lap 62, but that's going to help the number 3 of Joshua Neely for the race lead. And now, look at this, Cellspin and Abel all once going for the transfer spot for the Dash4Cash. Is he gonna make a move? Not quite. Oh no, Abel's gonna try and get there, but he's not. It's gonna be Joshua Neely winning the race, and it will be Alexis Cellspin by 1 spot, 1 position on the racetrack, winning the Dash4Cash. And how about that? All 3 races of the Dash4Cash went caution free, but all of them were intense, and it came down to the very end. What a race at Hillside.
Man, I'm sure someone is going to be happy about Alexis Cellspin winning the Dash4Cash. But great run here from Joshua Neely. Started midway through the field and managed to claw his way up to get his first win after not the strongest of starts in the Body Armor East Series, unfortunately for Gladovic's team.
And for Josh Neely, that is his 9th start on the season, and that's going to be his first top 5, 2nd top 10, and of course his first win on the season, and a race win for Joe Racing here tonight. What a race here at Hillside, and it came down to 1 spot. 1 spot, and Abel couldn't quite get to the inside. For a second, I thought we were going to have a side-by-side battle for the Dash4Cash, but who says we need a caution for the Dash4Cash, because it came down to 1 spot. after 63 laps of intense racing at Hillside. And it's going to be very close for the championship. Going into Charlotte next week, BP Ruiz got 9th, and Alexander will finish 20th. So definitely going to be a lot of ground gained for BP Ruiz, who might be one of the true contenders for this title, but same can be said for guys like Harley Anderson Jr., even though not a good one here tonight. Jay Littleton could have a shot, and Abel especially, I think, is going to be a contender in the second half. It's going to be a lot of fun. But how about that one? Josh Manili with the race win. Kyle Blues possibly first start on the channel, gets second, and then Trey Smith. I thought Trey Smith was going to steal it there with a couple laps to go. Gets third, Salzman in fourth, and Abel in fifth. Fourth and fifth and 8th. And 20th for the Dash4Cash drivers. What a night here at Hillside.
Man, it's been a tough day for Alexander Rowe and Haley Anderson Jr. especially. Not as strong as I thought they were. On the flip side, though, Aaron Abel is going to have a huge chunk of points on those two, and potentially BB Ruiz as well, finishing 9th there in the 57. But to your point, it is surprisingly competitive with how this race has gone. That was at least 25 or so lead changes there. And a bit of a surprise winner there in Joshua Neely in the number 3.
Absolutely. A ton of lead changes, a ton of different drivers we mentioned here tonight. At least 12 to 15, I want to say, people we mentioned here tonight. So, at least double digits. And that was a lot of fun. And once again, I said last week at Oregon Speedway, but what a fun track here at Hillside. I can see why Alex likes this track here. And aside for the Wawa and the Showdown here as well, later on in the year. But congratulations to Josh Manili on the race win, and then congratulations by one spot of Let's Salesman on winning the Dash4Cash. You know who we are. And I assume Alex will figure everything out for me and get the cash to you. But next week, signups are happening right now, most likely, for the longest race of the season in the Sprint Series at Charlotte Motor Speedway for race 17 on the season. 50 laps on tap there, part of Indy 250 week. And we'll see who ends up winning the longest race of the season at Charlotte. We're officially halfway done already in the Sprint Series, and I think it's going to come down to guys like Alexander Rowe, BP Ruiz, Ian April, maybe Chase McClure, maybe Ian Williams, Matthew Hall. It's still very competitive, and all it takes is Alexander Rowe to have a rough night like tonight, and it's going to be tight once again. Thanks for Matthew Hubert for joining me up here on the booth for this one, and we will see you guys next week at Charlotte Motor Speedway for 50 laps for the longest race of the Sprint Series season.